Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative News Update. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Today, I'm highlighting news from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. More than 3,500 public servants in St. Vincent and the Grenadines are expected to benefit from the daily paid and minor salaried officers' compassionate gratuity Bill 2026, which was passed in Parliament earlier this week. The legislation tabled by Minister responsible for the public service, Sinclair Leacock, establishes a legal framework for the payment of compassionate gratuities to eligible public officers upon retirement, providing greater financial security for workers who are not covered by the traditional pension system. During the debate, Minister Leacock said the legislation also addresses the gap between the compulsory retirement age of 60 and the pensionable age of 65, noting that the new arrangement provides greater certainty for affected workers. Addressing the payment of gratuities, Leacock explained that the funds will come from the consolidated fund and stressed that maintaining accurate employment records will be critical to the successful implementation of the program. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Godwin Friday said that in the past, public officers who reached retirement age often had their continued employment determined through cabinet decisions. He said the new legislation places that practice with a clear legal framework, ensuring that decisions affecting retirees are based on law rather than administrative discretion. In other words, you won't have to depend on a politician to have some kind of compassion on you. It must be done. It's required. In his contribution to the debate on the daily paid and minor salaried officers' compassionate gratuity Bill 2026, SVG's opposition leader, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, acknowledged that compassionate gratuities have been granted to public officers in the past and welcomed the move to establish a legislative framework for the benefit. However, Dr. Gonsalves said there are several provisions in the bill that require further clarification. He questioned the clause that gives the minister the authority to grant compassionate gratuities, expressing concern about how those powers would be exercised. Because, of course, we know that for a fact, politicians cannot be trusted. And for some reason, they could find some sort of information on a person and say, you know what, I'm not going to grant this individual. And they will give all kind of so-called legitimate excuses as to why this person cannot be granted that gratuity. But at the end of the day, it's most likely it will be because of the person probably criticizing the administration, being a member of or supporter of the opposition. This is why these type of powers should be given to permanent members of the public service, a public servant, and not a politician who has been elected into office who could end up being biased. Now, of course, there are times, even in the public service people, we know that at times people are targeted still because of politics. And we have a lot of individuals in the public service, even here in Trinidad and Tobago, who are extremely biased. But nevertheless, in general, they are not really going to look to find out who belongs to which political party, unless they're really obsessed with politics, and therefore that person shouldn't be even in that position in the first place, right? But in general, a normal public servant ain't going to waste time to go and find out who affiliated with which political party. Politician, on the other hand, you can't trust them because they're obsessed with politics, because they're obsessed with loyalty to their own political party. And therefore, Gonsalves is correct in raising that concern.
What we are doing here in this bill, Mr. Speaker, is recognizing for those non-pensionable workers who arrive at age 60 and didn't have anything set aside to them, in some cases through their own faults, because they did not pay enough attention to wealth management for which they're not properly trained, but also because we did not make a sufficiently careful deliberation that no category of workers should be with this degree of uncertainty. We are now going to allow them to decide, do you want to stay on to 61, 2, 3, 4, or starting up to 65? And we're giving them that choice, so that they can be provided for and to make those important adjustments in their life. This act shall be made in the case of retirement to the eligible officer within 3 months of the date of the approval of the application, or such longer period may be necessary, but in no case exceeding 6 months from the date. In other words, we don't want the getting of this money to have a long pants. Horse is starving while the grass growing. We don't want that. Give the people their money. B, in the case of death of an eligible officer to the designated beneficiary, and we inserted this word, or legal personal representative of the deceased eligible officer, and we inserted this as well, as provided in section 5.1, within 3 months of the date of approval of the application, or such long period, or may be necessary, but in no case exceeding 6 months from that date.
Let us put this on a legislative basis. Let's put the computation there in the law. Let's put the criteria upon which you would qualify. Let's set it out there. Let's say very clearly the times or the instances or the conditions under which you would not be able to get it. Put it in there. Don't leave it up to cabinet to decide, or to the minister alone to decide, or 1 or 2 ministers who mightn't like a particular person who is applying. And you hear the leader of the opposition, he says so. And I'll address that particular point when we come to deal with Clause 9 of the bill.
Section 2, Clause 2, of 9.2 of this cannot be understandable. And you can't have a transference from the Pension Act to this one. Go hear what it says. It established to the satisfaction of the minister that an eligible officer has been guilty of negligence, irregularity, or misconduct. The compassionate gratuity may be reduced or altogether withheld. I would not encourage any minister, any worker to do anything which is negligent, irregular, misconduct. But if a man says at any time, I ain't paying no attention to that ignorant minister, and the minister is the one who's going to determine his compassionate gratuity, the minister may tell him, oh, are you ignorant? Are you ignorant? Wait, you will get your gratuity. You will get your gratuity. You will get your gratuity when I am ignorant no more.
Trinidad and Tobago weather report for Thursday, July 23, 2026. On Thursday, July 23, 2026, Trinidad and Tobago will experience variably cloudy, slightly hazy, and breezy conditions. Scattered showers are anticipated, which may become heavier during the early morning hours, with winds gusting near those downpours. Mild Saharan dust concentrations are present, and individuals with respiratory sensitivities should take necessary precautions. Temperatures will range from a low of 24 degrees Celsius to a maximum high of 30 degrees Celsius, with the heat index making it feel like 33 degrees Celsius. Easterly to east-southeasterly winds will blow at 10 to 40 kilometers per hour. Marine conditions will remain slight to moderate, with open water waves reaching 1.0 meters to 1.5 meters. Sunrise occurs at 5:49 a.m. and sunset will be at 6:29 p.m. Bible quote of the day. Psalm 107, 1-3. Thanksgiving for God's enduring love and redemption. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, his love endures forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord tell their story, those he redeemed from the hand of the foe, those he gathered from the lands, from east and west, from north and south.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news update. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.